In 2015, Sub-Saharan Africa had 50% of the world's poorest. And the World Bank projects that come 2030, we could likely see that number increase to 90% of the extreme poor in Sub-Saharan Africa. So indeed, urgent actions are necessary to reverse that trend in the region, in particular in investing in key areas that will promote sustainable and equitable, inclusive growth. And those investments include investments in health and education, not just to make people's lives better, but to increase the potential for growth that comes out of investments in human capital. Investments also in infrastructure, and not just infrastructure such as roads and ports and energy, but infrastructure in the digital sphere as well. To, again, unleash opportunities for growth, elicit private sector response to the improvements in infrastructure, and investments, of course, to increase the region's resilience to the impact of climate change, which is significant in some of the poorest countries in Sub-Saharan Africa. Countries and member countries in particular, in the discussions in the IDA replenishment, have been very focused on pushing forward the work under the JET team, as we call it, to see more impact in jobs and structural change in individual economies. Germany has been a leading voice also on the JET theme in the replenishments. And the JET theme and the Compact with Africa do indeed share common objectives of promoting more robust private sector growth by working on the enabling environment, the business environment, financial environment for private sector development. So IDA has been very present in providing support through operations that allow countries to implement a number of critical reforms that are impeding private sector development. Those reforms may be in different sectors, in energy and telecoms, and require some regulatory changes that IDA is very well placed to help with in the context of policy-based operations that it supports. And Germany, of course, and the G20 in the Compact with Africa context, very much pushing forward on an approach that allows countries to continuously renew their reform efforts as their circumstances changes. The global challenges of the day are even bigger than what we saw 75 years ago, bigger, more complex, and more difficult to address. For example, the increased number of extreme poor in Sub-Saharan Africa, as we just discussed before, climate change and the consequences from that on the poorest countries in the world, migration, issues together that are really beyond the efforts of individual countries, individual companies, individual civil society organizations to deal with alone. It requires a combined effort to bring to the fore the comparative advantages of those different contributors. So certainly governments have their own role in what they need to do. We talked about some of that again in the context of the reform efforts of Sub-Saharan Africa. And of course raising concessional financing and with IDA and with the contributions of Germany and other partners to help address poverty in the most difficult environments requires large numbers of concessional financing. And that is a collective effort as well to do. And Germany has been a long-standing partner and supporter of IDA since IDA's inception. And Germany remains a big financial contributor to IDA. It's the fourth largest donor to IDA. And its contributions have gone way beyond those financial contributions. Germany has been instrumental in making it possible for IDA to proceed with a number of initiatives. The JET, the Jobs and Economic Transformation theme, for example, was very much heralded by Germany. And the private sector window, again, the tool that allows mobilization of more private investments in the poorest, most difficult environments, Germany has also been a strong promoter of. So we very much look forward to Germany's continued leadership in those areas and to a very robust contribution from Germany to the IDA 19 replenishment.